Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Dylan Murry of Racing Team Nederland who will be driving the number 29 with a bunch of interesting people. I'll just say that. We'll explain later. How's it going?
It's going really good. Ready to get ready for the first race of the season. It's always like building up to Daytona, and so it's finally coming here this week.
All right, you have a new team this year. Let's talk about how you got together with these guys.
This is actually a really interesting story. So I was about to sign this contract with another team. Yeah. It was they offered me just Daytona, and with a possibility for the endurance races, but it was confirmed like just Daytona. And I was going to sign. They sent me the contract on a Friday. And this was all back in December, so it was still really close to the race. And back in like beginning of December, got this contract from this other team, and they sent it to me on a Friday. I said, okay, I'll look over it on the weekend. I'll get it back to you Monday night, signed. And so I'm looking over it the weekend. Everything looks great. Yeah, everything's good. And then on Monday, at about 3:00 in the afternoon, I get a phone call from this team. Never talked to them before, never met them, never said anything to them. They never seen me or heard of me. And they call me and they say, hey, we're with Racing Team Nederland, and we are going to IMSA next year in LMP2. And we're looking for another driver for the endurance races. And we saw your lap times in LMP3 last year. We want to hire you for the 4 endurance races. And that was our first conversation. And in our first conversation, I said, yeah, that all sounds great. I really appreciate the offer. But if we want to make this happen, I've got another contract that I got to send to another team within the next 12 hours. So can you get me a contract within 3 hours? And I was like, not to put a fire under your feet. I know this is the first time we met, but I would like a contract within 3 hours. And so they said, okay, well, yeah, let me call our sponsors and double check with them, but maybe we might be able to make this happen. And 3 hours later, they call back. We got the contract all signed. It was the most stressful 3 hours of my life. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I didn't want to pressure them because it's like, I never met these people before. I'm like, I just met you, but I want to sign a contract with you within 3 hours. And so very fortunate for all of it to come together. Very, very fortunate for the other team for their offer as well. Would have been an excellent program. But it had to take the 4 races that was right there. And so, yeah, it all came together last minute and was just so stressful. But it's all over and done with now. And my seat was in the car. My butt was in the car in the seat. So we did all the roar last week, and then now we're going to Daytona, and yeah, it's gonna be a really good way to start the season.
So you have some, as I mentioned, of course. We'll talk about who's going to be in the car with you.
Yeah, so the car is all my co-drivers are all Dutch. The entire team, the mechanics, engineers, and everybody are all French. I'm the only, with the exception of one of our engineers who's with us just for Daytona. He's not going to be with us for the rest of the season. He's American. He's from Colorado, but everybody else, French or Dutch. And I don't speak French. I don't speak Dutch. I speak German. So it's similar to Dutch. I can pick out words of what they're saying, but not the whole meaning of the whole sentence. And so but French, I can't understand a single bit of that. So it's definitely interesting to be a part of the team. Everybody's so smart and switched on, and working with them too. It's just like, this is my first week working with them, and I can see how much potential we have for this season just because of how much hard work that they put in and smart work that they put into the car. It's all, and all of my co-drivers are really quick. Guido Vandergaard is our platinum in the car, and he's 3 years in Formula One, so you really can't get much better than that. And Rinus VK, who's racing an IndyCar this year. And then Fritz is, he's had so much experience in these LMP2 cars. We've got a really strong driver lineup for this weekend and for the year too. So it's really great to be working with these guys and to learn so much. This is my first time in an LMP2 car. So to learn so much from Guido, who's been driving this LMP2 for 5 years now, overlaying data and everything, that he's figured out all the little nuances of how the P2 likes to be driven. I'm just accelerating my learning so quickly in this new car. And I think the biggest thing for me, driving wise, from what I did last year in the LMP3 to the LMP2 now, is in the P2, it's so aero dependent that you cannot make big adjustments in the steering wheel at all, or the brake pedal. You have to be so delicate. In the LMP3, it's like a mix between a GT car and a real prototype. And so it's really great transition step going into the prototypes. And you could really wheel it, like in P3, you can just drive it as hard as you want, and the car rewards you for that. In the P2, it's so aero dependent, especially on the bottom of the car, that 1 millimeter of ride height change in the front splitter affects so much grip. And if you modulate the brake pedal even just slightly, it's going to adjust that 1 millimeter too much or too little in the ride height, and your braking capabilities are going to be screwed. Your cornering speed is going to be screwed. You cannot carry that speed through. So it's all about being like, how smooth can you be and delicate with the steering and brake pedal all the way through the corner. So that's it's been such a big learning curve, but just being, instead of driving right at the limit, you have to be right under the limit in this car.
Yeah. So this is what's it like trying to understand? I mean, for all intents and purposes, all three of your drivers speak really good English. So drivers can all communicate with each other. What's it like with the team? Because the drivers are all Dutch besides you, and all the other personnel are French. What's it going to be like on the radio trying to talk for like 24 hours during all this?
Yeah, so we our engineer is French, and he speaks very good English, but he still has a very thick French accent, and we always give him a hard time for that in the hauler too. Just goofing around in the hauler, we always give him a hard time for that. And but no, it's actually, I'm understanding him very well. I think the easiest thing to understand is box, which is good because it's box, 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 and like box, 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 pit this lap. Everything else is kind of like, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? But no, it's definitely, it's different. I think it's good to have so much like different experience in different countries of cultures, because for me as an American, American teams mostly like to, when you're in practice, make change after change after change and get the car really good. But European teams like to keep the drivers out there to make the drivers really good. And so I think it's finding like that a really good balance of making a car good, making a driver good. It's really good to have the Dutch culture, the French culture, the American culture all kind of coming together and making a very well-rounded team. It's for everybody to just bring their own experience and bring their own kind of culture into one team. It's not like it's just all one culture of, oh, we have to do this, but then another team's doing this. It's kind of like we have everything put together.
What's it going to be like running this race? Because the Rolex 24 is something. What's it going to be like running this particular race? I know you've ran it before. What's the big strategy in doing it? So basically, I know we've talked about this with other drivers that we've had on this week. We've had a lot of them in running the Rolex. But talk about what it's going to be like with just when you're in the car and when you're not in the car.
Yeah, the Rolex 24 is such a physical track, and mental too. It's very mental. This year is going to be really tough because we have 4 drivers, but we can only go about 35 minutes on fuel in the LMP2. So we have to make so many pit stops. But it's good. It gives you a break. But you only get like double stints. We might get like an hour, maybe an hour and a half in the car at a time, which it cuts down on your sleeping because then you have less time to rest. So it's all going to be about relaxation out of the car. And when you're in the car, keeping a very consistent lap time. It's not going to be about who can set the fastest lap of the race. It's going to be about consistency, lap after lap, never making a mistake, never doing anything wrong, and just for the whole 24 hours, just be completely consistent. And we'll have all of our nutrition stuff ready to go as soon as we get out of the car, go back to the motorhome, get a massage from our physio, take a recovery shake. And actually a funny story on the physio side of things. We have our physio for this week, and I've never gotten a massage ever in my life, never worked with a physio before. And they brought him to Miami. And I found out that especially my feet, I am very ticklish. And when I'm getting this massage, I don't know how much I'm going to use the physio during the race, because all I do is laugh, giggle, and just like, I'm just so ticklish that I got a massage today from our physio, getting ready recovery for the race. And she's trying to massage my feet. And I cannot stop laughing, because it's like, she starts to massage my feet. I've never gotten a foot massage before. And I kind of jerk my foot a little bit. And then I start like a slow chuckle of like, just like trying to hold in my laugh. And then it just starts building up more and more. And I'm just bawling laughing at some point. And she's just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just really ticklish. Just like, give me a second. Maybe I'll calm back down." But I was so ticklish. She couldn't even massage my feet. She just gave up at some point. So I don't know how much I'm going to use the physio during the race, because all I do is get tickled on my feet. But no, we'll have the physio. I might do, a couple of minutes just massaging the forearms, because those get pretty fatigued, and the neck, obviously. But yeah, no, I'm very ticklish guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that I didn't expect that, but yeah, good content on there. Anytime we have you on. So let's talk about that. So I know the crew members are, in their tents and all that stuff. So where do you go to go rest and all that? Where does that all happen?
Yeah, so we've got our motorhome in the driver owner lot, that in between stints we'll go back to the motorhome. That's where we'll all sleep, we'll all change, take showers and everything in between stints. It's a lot of, just recovery, like I said, recovery in between stints. And at night, before the race, all of our drivers were in the same house together. We rented a house a little ways away from the racetrack. So we're all staying in a house together. Really gives like team bonding. It's where we all take the same car to the track every day, same car back to the house every day, and eat breakfast together, eat dinner together. It really increases the team bonding. So that's where we sleep in between like practice day and qualifying day. But then throughout the race, we'll go back to the motorhome, be very quiet as we enter in, so we don't wake up any of the other drivers. And then try to get a little bit of shut eye. We're not going to be able to sleep very much, because it's your adrenaline is just going so much while you're running in the 24 hours of Daytona. Last year I got maybe 2 hours of sleep. I think I got 2 45-minute naps or so. So you're not going to be able to get much sleep. It's going to be a lot of fatigue. It's just trying to stay as fresh as you possibly can, and you can't even rely on caffeine for this race until the end of until your last stint, because you just need to sleep in between your stints. So you can't even rely on caffeine to keep you up. You just have to rely on pure adrenaline and sugar. And my trick is Altoids. As soon as I wake up, I grab a whole handful of Altoids, just shove in my mouth, chew them as fast as I can. That wakes you up. It wakes you up. But that's my trick, is as soon as I wake up, turn on like really bright lights, like stare into a bright light, and just take these Altoids and just throw those Altoids in your mouth, and swig of water, get in the car and go.
That's awesome. So what else besides the 4 endurance races, what else are you doing this year?
Yeah, so I do a lot of coaching in the off time. So right after Daytona, I'm heading straight to Sebring for my dad, David Murry. He runs these track days called David Murry Track Days, where he rents out a track. In this case, it's Sebring for 2 days, and anybody with track experience can bring their car out and drive a track for 2 days. So I'm going straight after Daytona to Sebring for my dad's track days, David Murry Track Days. And I'm going to coach a couple different people throughout the week, and then go into the PCA weekend at Sebring as well. So filling a lot of that time with coaching, just people that are doing club races that want to get better, or even like SRO and that kind of racing. And then a lot of times, like, I'll go to the IMSA races. Since I'm only doing the 4 endurance races, I'll be out at the sprint races for IMSA, just networking and just seeing some friends and all of that.
Nice. Yeah, and then just coming up there, and I've asked every driver that's competing this weekend, what's the biggest key to get it done at Rolex?
Consistency and no mistakes. Consistency and no mistakes. It is, it's a race that I haven't won yet. I won the Michelin Pilot race at Daytona 3 years ago, but I haven't won the Rolex 24 hour yet. And my dad, David Murray, has not won the Rolex 24 Hours in his life. And he's done it so many times. He's won so many championships and in many other races. But this race is not only about skill and how fast you are and how fast your car setup is. It's so much about just being consistent and not making any mistakes, having nothing go wrong. Because 24 hours, it's such a long time for anything to happen. You just have to be so relaxed. You can't get impatient, especially this year in LMP2, with how many GT cars and LMP3 cars there are. It's a combination of 45 cars that are slower than our class. So we're going to be catching, I did the qualifying race at the Roar for Daytona. And in that race, it was like every single lap you would catch 10 cars.
Yeah.
And it's so much about, like, I got maybe 2 clear laps the entire race. So it's just gonna be so much about how you can work your way through traffic without damaging the car. Yeah. Because you have to keep in mind too, these GT guys, they're battling for the same thing that you are. They're trying to get a Rolex. I'm trying to get a Rolex. And so you have to respect that they're battling, but you also want to make sure that you can buy them as quickly as possible so that you waste no time. But in these, especially the prototypes, downforce and bodywork is so critical that you can't afford to lose a dive plane. If you go in, like, let's say turn 6 is going to be like a really, really tight spot for all of us, because the prototypes are going to try to bury it in going into turn 6. GT might not see you. They might see you, but try to block you. And then you're going to make contact there, knock off a dive plane. And just one dive plane is going to kill you half a second to a second per lap. And then you have to come in, change the nose, which takes more time. So it's all about just being really, really patient, yet aggressive. So knowing that fine line of, I'm not going to knock off any body work or anything, but I'm going to get by this car as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. All right. Dylan Murry, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Good luck in the Rolex 24 this weekend, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're going to need it.